Yay. Okay. How are you?
Great, how are you?
I am doing really well.
Good.
Not bad, so not bad for a Monday.
Exactly.
All right, so just gonna share this real quick in the page. But I just want to go ahead and just thank you so much for joining us. I am so, so grateful for you taking the time and your precious time to, join us tonight and just share a little bit about your story and how you have remained resilient over this last year. It was really important for me to be able to come back to work with Rise Together, after a really long year. And I thought, what better way than to, share about how we have all remained resilient after all of us experiencing a really difficult year, by sharing our stories and just getting connected and learning from others. All of us experiencing and I'm trying to quickly share this on our page so I don't lose it. I'm still learning how to do all the things on Facebook. It's not.
Yeah.
It's does anybody conquer all this?
I don't know.
So many things to learn.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for creating this space for these really important conversations.
Yes, you are welcome. I appreciate it. I've had a few, now this is my third interview that I've done, and it's been interesting to learn. I think it's so cool to be able to bring people from all different walks of life and just be able to experience and know that we all go through hard times and experience different challenges, and yet we walk through those experiences with different tools and different resources, and we all have things that work for us. And so I think what better way. First of all, I want to, share a little bit, or have you share a little bit about who you are. But I, initially met you, what was it? It was She Recovers in New York. Was that 4 years ago now? Maybe 4 years?
Yeah, it was 2017.
Okay. So 4 years ago, which was an incredible experience. So She Recovers, which I'm sure you can explain more in a minute, but going to that event for me was life-changing. I mean, it was hundreds of women all in recovery and just sharing, their experiences and finding support and resources. And first of all, it's a huge experience just to go to New York, alone, when I'm from, small Wisconsin. And so to go to the big city, it was just a beautiful experience all around. And it was considerably life-changing for me. It was something that I, as a young woman who was in early recovery at the time, just to be surrounded by so many other powerful women, just from all walks of life. And it was just so incredible. And of course, you were there and you got to lead some of your yoga classes, and just to, help lead that type of event and to bring so many beautiful women together. And then did it again in LA, which I was able to go to with some of my friends. And that was also life-changing. So I just want to thank you, for doing work like that, and just being able to, shine light on not so easy topic, right? I mean, when it comes to addiction, recovery, substance use, I think what's beautiful about She Recovers is that it is welcoming to all women from all walks of life, and those who are, recovering in all different ways from all different reasons. And so that's why especially I wanted to bring you on here. I think it's so good to share that with our community and our audience. And so thank you again for being here. And if you want to go ahead and share a little bit more about who you are and the work that you do, I think would be a great way to start.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. You really beautifully and perfectly summed up She Recovers. So for those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name's Taryn Strong and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm one of the founders of the She Recovers Foundation. And the other founder is my mom, Dawn Nickel. And we founded She Recovers 10 years ago now, and we call it our accidental movement. And how it was born was my mom and I, we both in our journeys are in recovery from substance use disorder and trauma, and for me, disordered eating and codependency and self-injurious behavior and low self-esteem and no self-worth, etc. And my mom is a woman in recovery. She has decades and decades of recovery. Of course, she has a few more decades than I do. And we both were really realizing and wanting to create a space where women recovering and non-binary individuals recovering from all the different things in all the different ways could come together. So that's how She Recovers was born. It was just first a Facebook page. We just wanted to start having these conversations of, hey, have you ever thought of it this way, where we all have different coping mechanisms, but underneath the coping mechanisms, it's kind of all the same stuff. So for me, I coped with my trauma using substances, whereas maybe somebody else uses relationships or shopping or gambling or sex or workaholism, fill in the blank. So we wanted to create a space where we could start having these conversations. And then we decided to have a retreat. And that retreat led to, many retreats and many conferences like you spoke about that you went to, and workshops, etc. And it was all so beautiful to be able to create that space, both online, because we were still, of course, the Facebook page, and in person, where we could gather. One of our taglines is we're all recovering from something. You don't have to recover alone, and that you're really supported to find and follow your own individual pathways and patchworks of recovery. Because that's something else that we were seeing or feeling, or maybe that was just my own personal experience of feeling like there was kind of this box of recovery that I didn't fit in. And if I didn't do it that way, I was doing it wrong, right? So we just really like to give our community full permission to recover in their own way. And it's just so important as well for us to have these spaces for us to be able to connect, support, and empower each other, whether it's online or in person. So we are a grassroots movement. Last year, we got our nonprofit charitable status. So we're really excited that we're now a nonprofit. And we just can't wait. This just feels like we've been around for 10 years, but this just feels like the beginning. We have so much work to do so that we can reach as many people as possible. And really one of the reasons why we had these big conference-y type events in like New York and LA, next year it's going to be in Miami, is because we want to show the world what recovery looks like, right? Like there's so much stigma and shame and ideas around what substance use looks like. But we need more examples out there of what recovery looks like. So we like to have these events, online or in person, just to show the world and just to smash the stigma and be like, hey, listen, when I was 16, I was a cocaine and crystal meth addict, and now I'm thriving and really doing okay. And people need to know and hear these stories and see those examples, right? So we're doing it, and it's really beautiful to see the community grow and the way we've adapted over the last year as well.
Yeah, 100%. It is so beautiful. I know I'm connected to so many women who are part of the community, and it is just so, I don't know, it's amazing to see so many people come together and just support each other and connect with each other and learn from each other. And that's something, that I think is so valuable. And what better way to use that for good, to even use like Facebook, for example, and your Facebook group, to use that for good, to, help so many people in the process of recovery and whatever their recovery journey looks like. So even just kind of going based off of that, I know there was some people who were interested in a little bit more about your recovery journey and just kind of more of what that looked like. So if you want to share a little bit more of kind of what your early recovery looked like and what helped you then, and then also more specifically what's helped this last year.
Yeah, I love this question. For my early recovery, for me, it really was a matter of life or death because of the substances that I was addicted to. So for me, when I was 16, it was a scary bottom, of course. And what really helped me was, first of all, getting really honest with myself, like coming out of that denial that I was in, as well as allowing myself to reach out to community and to be supported by community, right? For so long, I was really kind of stubborn, and because I was in denial as well, I was kind of a lone wolf, and realized that doesn't work, because then you just get to kind
No,
of
it doesn't.
your own story. So
Yep.
really the first thing that I did was I got honest with myself. And in that process of getting honest with myself, I was honest with other people, because of course I was lying to so many people around me. So in being honest with them, I was able to open myself up to receive unconditional love from them, as well as support. And then I was really lucky that I was able to explore and find my own tools that worked for me. Now, I grew up in a 12-step home, right? Like my parents, they've been a part of their 12-step programs for, gosh, 30 years now. So I grew up in that home, and I have nothing but love and respect for the 12 steps. I know for a fact that my parents wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the 12-step programs. But for me, I loved meetings, but it didn't resonate with me as kind of my main recovery program. So I was really, looking back, I feel really lucky and grateful that I tried a bunch of different things, which is what I always recommend to people too, is try all the things, and some things are going to work and some things aren't, and some things are going to resonate and other things aren't, but just try it all. So for me, what was really important in my early recovery and now was having some type of somatic movement. So dancing, yoga, really important, as well as, later, just recently, a few years ago, I started working with a somatic trauma therapist. So helpful for me to release like the trauma and the tension that's in my body, living in my body, as well as doing a lot of work with different therapists to do some inner child work, as well as helping with the intergenerational trauma piece. So my mom and I actually have both gone and had kind of like a couples therapist, but it was a mother-daughter therapist, which was really important for us. Community is so important. I use essential oils and different herbs. I'm a herbalist as well, so that's been really helpful. Ritual and ceremony. But for me, it's just giving myself permission to really every single day be as present, as embodied as I can. And that looks different every single day. So my kind of patchwork looks different every single day, and that's okay. It doesn't have to look the same, and it doesn't have to look the same as other people's either.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love that, because I think we so often think that it has to look like what somebody else is doing. And and I can relate so much. I have parents who also are in the 12-step community, and it's something that has been incredibly great for them, and their own recovery journeys. And I was able to find what worked for me and in my recovery journey. And I too, I think it's so important to try different things to see what actually fits. Because we are all different, and we all are going to, react and respond to things in all different ways. So I love that, and I appreciate you sharing them. I am curious to know, so there actually was somebody that wrote in with a question, and it was actually the most recent or last question. And they wanted to know, so I think this is kind of more specifically just because you were sharing like some of the things that help you, like body movement and oils and things like that. But somebody wanted to know, how do you nurture yourself in a flight or fight response?
So good. I love this question. So for me, when I am in that state, what is so important is the pause. So when I'm feeling triggered, when I'm feeling reactive, when I'm feeling provoked, if I can just pause for a moment, and for me, I put my hand, like one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly, and just pause, have my eyes open or closed, and I just check in with myself. And I check in with myself by first just dropping from my reactive, provoked, triggered, wanting to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, because fawn is one of my trauma responses as well. So when I'm going into that response, it's just that pausing, it's dropping from my head into my body. So first of all, feeling my body. That's why I bring my hands onto my body, because sometimes when we're triggered, when we're going into our trauma responses, we can disassociate, right? And it's a really intelligent thing that our body does. It's a protective mechanism. So it's nothing to be like, oh, shoot, this is happening again. It's actually like, okay, thank you, body. I recognize what you're doing. But by bringing ourselves into our body, it helps us bring us into the moment. So hands onto my body. Sometimes I can feel my body, or maybe sometimes you can't feel your body, but it will help just ground you a little bit. And then breathing, right? Checking in with my breath. For me, I'm always noticing and catching myself holding my breath. For others, it might be more of a really shallow, rapid breathing in your upper chest. So our breath is our gateway to our nervous system. So if we can pause, drop into our body, connect with our body, and then connect with our breath, then we get to connect with our nervous system. And our nervous system is one of the systems that is kind of feeding our flight, fight, freeze, or fawn response. So if we can pause, and all of this can happen in half of a second, or we can stay there for as long as needed. But I find it really just helps to bring me back into the moment and be like, oh yeah, okay, no, right now I'm okay. One of my teachers, Peter Levine, he says that trauma, it's in our nervous system, it's not in the event. So by checking in with my nervous system, by regulating my nervous system, by self-soothing, I always remember and recognize that, oh yeah, like right now I'm okay. And then that helps me move through things with more grace and ease. And this doesn't happen perfectly every time, right? It takes practice. But the more I practice it, the more that I really ensure that all day, every day, I'm really padding up my nervous system with all of my different tools, then I'm less reactive. Then I have more of that opportunity to pause and drop in. I hope that helped.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's moving my body, right? Like sometimes it's, okay, I'm going into flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. I need to put on a song and just have a dance party in the middle of my living room, or do a few stretches, smell an essential oil. All of those things, they just help me come back into my body.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you come back into your body and you're more present in that moment, and not like, I've been learning a lot around mind wandering. And so we're like constantly, maybe thinking about all the things instead of just being here, like present in the moment with your breath. And so, yeah, that was an incredible response, and I think so helpful. Especially for people, and I'm not going to speak for the general population, but I know that we have experienced such significant trauma over this last year, and hardships, and being able to learn how to practice some of these things. I think more people are interested in it today more than ever, because they saw things come up, or come out and react in different ways that I think they weren't even, didn't even really understand kind of where that was coming from. And so I would love to have you share a little bit more on how, what has worked for you more specifically over this last year. I know you kind of share a little bit about in the, your early recovery journey, but really more so specifically, experiencing COVID and experiencing quarantine. And, I know even with the conversation of things coming back and getting worse again, and what that looks like, and just what would you say were some of your top things that helped you to really remain resilient within, your work and within your family?
Yeah, such a great question. I think for me, and this actually ties into the last question as well about, how I kind of help myself when I'm in a triggered state. And what's really helped me since the beginning of the pandemic until now is inner child healing has been really important, because I've noticed, especially through the pandemic, that oftentimes when I'm feeling triggered, or when my mind is wandering or going in all of those different directions, when I do take that moment to pause and check in with myself, 9 times out of 10, it's actually like my inner child stuff that is surfacing. And so by what I've done a lot since the pandemic is, what I talked about earlier about, okay, just pausing, checking in with my body, with my breath, and then checking in. I call her Tiny Taryn. I call my inner child Tiny Taryn. Just checking in and be like, okay, Tiny Taryn, what do you need right now? And usually she needs a glass of water, she needs to go for a walk, she needs a nap, she needs a snack. And that's just been really helpful over the past year and a bit. So inner child healing has been really great. Staying connected to community online has been so key and so important. So within our She Recovers Foundation, we have daily gatherings that are free. They're via Zoom. We have 2 a day. We also have free trauma-informed yoga classes and trauma-informed dance classes. So staying connected to community in that way has been really important. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and that was a little bit difficult in the beginning, was giving myself permission to slow down and to rest and to really eliminate shoulds from my vocabulary. What I've always known about myself, but what was really, what I really had to work through since the pandemic is, perfectionism, and always feeling like I should be doing something or really putting my worth on my productivity. So just giving myself space this year to just do less is more, and to just take lots of breaks and lots of rest, lots of breaks to connect with people and take more time outside in nature, and just eliminating shoulds has been key, as well as, and I'll say this every day until the day I die, the movement piece. I notice if I've had a period, a couple days or a week where I haven't moved my body in some way, then, oh my gosh, like I just notice I start really getting into my head. And so lots of movement. And by lots, I just mean maybe it's half an hour yoga practice or, whatever it might be. But just, I've always known this, but this year it just really confirmed the connection for me between moving my body and mental health.
Yes. I too, this last year, physical movement has been key. I didn't realize how much stress and tension we carry in our bodies until I actually started moving my body on a daily basis. And I know that for me, if I would not have done that, I would not have been able to make it through this past year. It's been so incredibly helpful. So I agree to that 100%. And thank you for sharing. I think tiny Taryn, like I love that. I love that. The idea of having, and thinking about your inner child and your inner self, and like, what does that person need? What can you give to her right now in that moment? And so, yeah, I think that those are incredible things. And She Recovers is doing amazing with connecting and creating safe, and brave spaces for, people to come together and, just like you said, to move their body or to learn or to just have conversation. Those are just so helpful, I think, especially this last year when so many people have felt so disconnected.
Exactly. And I think too, just giving yourself permission to not pretend you're okay if you're not, and to have those people in your life, whether it's one person or, a Zoom gathering like on She Recovers, where you just let yourself be honest and vulnerable and just allow yourself to be seen and heard in that and held, I think is really key and important also.
Yeah, so important. I think, and this actually relates to a question that somebody wrote in, so this perfectly ties in, but sometimes we don't have safe people to share with, and we have maybe family members or people in our life who don't necessarily agree with our lifestyle or with our pathway of recovery. And there was someone that did write in, just asking, maybe for you, how have you, or if you have experience removing toxic family members, what have you done to, potentially, really deal with, I guess, the negative backlash or those who maybe haven't necessarily agreed with your form of recovery or how you live today? Kind of a loaded question, but
no, it's such a common question.
It's so common.
Right? It's so common. And to the person who asked this question, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's so hard, right? When you are just working so hard to heal and to work on yourself, and then you have the added stress of family drama or just any negativity. It's not helpful, right? So I'm just really sorry. And for me, again, it just goes back to that community piece of finding your people and finding your chosen family. And it's heartbreaking when our family aren't people that are the supportive ones. They're not there for us the way that we would really like them to be. It's heartbreaking. And so you really have to give yourself, in my opinion, space to grieve that and space to really feel that, and really space for you to process that. And while you're doing all of that, seeking out your tools that are going to support you in your healing, however that looks, whatever works for you, and also seeking out your community of people who are going to become your chosen family, and who are going to celebrate you as you heal, and who are going to see you and hold space for you, is going to be really, really important. And it's just really, in my experience, it's a journey of practicing radical acceptance and surrender and letting go. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, where for me, you just get to this place of compassion, and just being able to, as we continue to heal and grow, we get so much clarity in our recovery journeys. And I've also really received the gift of discernment in my recovery journey. So with those relationships, I've gotten to a place of just being able to hold compassion and acceptance. So it does happen. You get there.
It takes time. Yeah. Healing, grieving. I really like that piece, because also having the space to let go, right? And, we can't control others, and we can't control, others' thoughts and actions and behaviors. But like you said, again, it goes back to what we can control, which is ourselves, and being able to, respond in a way. Can you expand a little bit more on what you mean by radical acceptance? Just because I think, and maybe for people who are here watching or will watch, just to understand, like, what does that mean to you?
To me, in the context and conversation of, kind of relationships, family or friends or other relationships, that of people maybe not understanding our journey, it just means coming to this place of surrender, and then knowing that we can't control other people's thoughts or behaviors. So that radical acceptance of just accepting that, okay, these people are maybe never going to understand who I am, or where I am, or where I'm going, or any of that. And just coming to a place of, instead of trying to make them see or make them understand, or change the way they see you, or change the way they see your situation, or control their experience in any way, it's just accepting that, okay, this is the way it's going to be. And I can't change them. All that I can do, all that I have power in, is changing me and honoring myself and my truth, and continuing to heal, and continuing this journey of growth and evolution.
I love that. Yes. And it's so necessary. And I do hope that everybody can get to that place, at some point, within themselves, and also with other relationships. So I'm trying to wrap these up within like a good 30 minutes. And so one last thing that I would really love for you to share a little bit more about, is something that is intriguing to me, and I think would be interesting for others, is just to learn a little bit more about the work that you're doing personally. I know you're hosting some workshops and doing programs around, like, even the menstrual cycle and the moon cycle. And I would just love to hear a little bit more on what that looks like today. And if anybody's ever interested, feel free to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm also like a coach and a mentor, and I do one-to-one coaching, and I do group programs. And Nadine has just touched on a program that I just started called Menstrual Magic. And what it is we are diving into healing our menstrual cycle as people who bleed, and really exploring the different phases of our menstrual cycle, because there's different phases of them, right? We have different experiences and different energies and different hormones going on. So for me, actually, one of the key things for me in early recovery and my relapse prevention program myself, that I just gave myself, was tracking my menstrual cycle. Because I really started to become aware and notice, for me, the certain times of the month when maybe I had some anxiety, or maybe when I was really struggling extra hard with body image stuff or disordered eating stuff, or just not caring about anything and just feeling more like, what's the point? You know what I mean? So by being able to track that and see the times of the month when those were happening, so I could just be aware and be really extra gentle with myself on those days, was really important. So I am offering a program about that. And for me as well, a part of my recovery journey that's been really big has been connecting with not only the seasons and the cycles within me, but the seasons and the cycles, you know, connecting with the world and with nature as well. So I also have programs where we dive into different rituals and ceremonies. I've been doing a lot of healing with my Celtic ancestry. So just diving into what my ancestors, what they used to do to heal their relationships with themselves and each other and the planet. And so I'm totally all into that. I just finished a program about the trauma of money. So I'm a certified trauma of money coach as well. So my next layer in my personal journey of recovery is the financial stuff, right? Like the noticing maybe I'm not engaging in my substances anymore, but in COVID, I definitely was spending a lot of money, right? So going to be diving into that really soon too. But if you're interested in like herbalism, essential oils, ritual, magic, ceremony, any of that stuff, I am too. And I always love to share that with whoever is interested.
Awesome. And where can people find you if they're interested in stuff like that?
Yeah. So my Instagram is my name, Taryn Strong. My website is tarynstrong.com. So you can find me either of those places and reach out to me there. I would love for you to say hello if you were watching this and connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate, your time and support as this is in support of our Rise Together Strong fundraiser that we're doing right now to re-engage and reignite Rise Together. So thank you for supporting youth programs and just being a light for women in recovery and just sharing your journey, I'm sure, and hope it was helpful for someone who's watching it either now live or someone that watches this later. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and I hope to see you in Miami.
And again, thank you for all of the amazing work that you and Anthony are both doing. You're incredible. We love you so much.
Yeah, we love you guys too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.